Succession is about passing some entity on from one generation to another generation. And of course, good succession is doing it successfully. A pastor that I knew that pioneered a church and grew it to a great church, and then came of retirement age and decided to pass it on to his son. But he'd seen a problem in that when an older, senior pastor passes it on to a junior guy, that pretty soon he takes it back again. I mean, I know one church where the pastor has given it over to a successor 3 times and taken it back. Because the young guy doesn't live up to his expectations, doesn't do it the way he would do it. And so this guy that passed this church on to his son, he decided that to fix that, he would just plain old move away and let his son have full reign, and especially for a period of time, we wouldn't even show up there, so that it wouldn't interfere. And the other issue, of course, is when you're the senior pastor and you're connected to all of the people in the congregation, it's hard to shift that over to a younger pastor or another pastor where the congregation now will become faithful to him and follow him. There's a lot of dynamics involved. So anyway, what this pastor did is he totally moved away. But the question I have is, would the Apostle Paul, avoid coming back to a church because he put Timothy in charge, or would he even leave if he wasn't in that city in the first place? No, he wouldn't, because they had a different kind of relationship. And again, even a physical father-son relationship doesn't mean that there's an adoption that's taken place in the sense of a apostolic father to an apostolic son, whereby that shift can take place and there's still room for both of them. So one problem with that kind of a succession is that it's my baby, and you can't change it. Well, when we're looking at succession, we're looking at how we can move ahead, how we can change and expand and grow. And this is our big opportunity. It's difficult to teach about succession and the right way to do it because none of us are really very experienced. I mean, we've seen some things, learned some things from other people, watching other people, and we know what we know that we've learned in getting to the point that we're at now. So maybe the best thing I can do is give you an example of where we're at right now on several levels. First of all, the Thai church level. A few years ago, we released all of that to the younger generation. We even moved some of the older generation out of the church so the younger generation, the next generation, could take it on. And that was very powerful and very successful. Our churches are really growing and doing well. But even more than that, they've got tremendous potential because of the release and the excitement that these pastors, our next generation pastors can have, because there's not a ceiling there. And that was the whole thing that we communicated, is we're going to take the ceiling off of this thing, because a frustration for younger guys is, well, the older guys are never going to let me do what I want to do. I mean, I could see I could make some changes here, I could do some things here, but the older guys aren't going to let me do it. So we wanted to be very clear about that. Okay, here you go, do it. And they've done an exceptional job. And I think that's a big challenge, of course, is when the older guy really doesn't want the younger guys to do anything. But always keep in mind, succession is an opportunity for expansion and growth. I know that for sure. So then, concerning the Thai churches, I don't have to have anything to do with them. I attend the church in Sircha, have a great time, don't interfere with anything. Well, maybe Mom does a little bit. Just kidding. She always has some advice for you guys, right? And once in a while, I do have some advice as a father, not as a director or as a leader. So then when we come to the Victory Asia platform, that's a little bit different, because I would say that we're not at that level of succession yet, where if I disappeared today, that there wouldn't be some hiccups and some bumps in the Victory Asia platform and the way that works. And of course, the platform includes the Bible College, Victory Asia Bible College, the summits, the leadership summits, all of the traveling around Asia that goes on, and the different events and so on that we put on, Victory Worship, and some of those kind of overarching ministries that kind of overarch all of the churches in all of the nations. Like I say, if I was to disappear from that today, it could be a bit glitchy, because the next level of leadership or succession is not clear. I could guess at what would happen. I know that Pastor Rich would step in and that he would talk a lot to Becky, particularly because she's more involved with the Victory Worship, and talk to Matt because he's more involved with the Victory Asia Bible College. And so you can see kind of those areas do have their leaders, but I could see that, them getting together and saying, okay, where do we take it from here? And then all of our national leaders as well. I mean, the way I see the platform, the Victory Asia platform, is we've got 11 major church planting nations or ministries in 10 nations, and that each of those directors of those 11 national ministries are the advisory board and the direction board, and so they're the ones that I would expect to fill in the gaps, much the same way as we work together now. So I think things are well in place, but there's not like a written document somewhere, like a will and testament, that this is what's going to happen. So, but I do know that we have built strength into all of those areas of ministry to the point where they would certainly survive and flourish. But it would just take them a little while to find their direction and get their feet under them, and to move that on. So what I'm saying there really is that I still have a role to play in the Victory Asia platform. In fact, that's one of the shifts that's taken place as we have succeeded the Thai churches, the local churches, national churches, onto the leadership there. And we'll talk a little bit about that in another one of our segments here. I'm totally released from that. I can just be there and be fun and be an encouragement and enjoy what I see going on there. But for the Victory Asia platform, I would say that at this point, because the national churches are no longer in my immediate responsibility, that I'm able to father on a broader basis and a more focused basis into the platform. I would say that Pastor Rich is in the same boat as he's transitioned many of his responsibilities in the Philippines over to the next generation of leaders. So I'm excited about that because we're going to see more and more of that happen, and it's going to strengthen the platform. Right now, we're just getting ready to go to India, Pastor Rich and I, looking forward to that, a great time in India, and then after that, I'll be in the Philippines, and then after that, we'll be doing the Thailand Summit. You can see where that focus has shifted and changed. So that's kind of the answer to, should I stay or should I go? I believe that if everything has been healthy over the life of the ministry that you've led, Apostolic Father, staying is not a problem at all, but it's a blessing. But be very, very careful and be very conscious of not interfering and releasing and encouraging the next level of growth, which depends on the ability that the new leaders have to bring changes. It's going to change. It's not your baby.